Hi guys, welcome back to 100% Mags. So I hope you're all staying safe and well out there. So in this video today, there has been, of course, quite a bit of news circulating around Newcastle United since I last uploaded a video to the channel. So in this video, we are going to be talking about that news. Of course, the news that came out yesterday that Newcastle had appointed a new director of brand, marketing and digital media for the club. Of course, we'll talk about that in the video, and also we will be talking about, of course, the squad release for the Champions League. Of course, talking about who will be in the squad to play in the Champions League for in that first game, which we now know is going to be against AC Milan at the San Siro. So that is going to be an interesting game. The tickets have already gone on sale today for that for fans with 65 points, of course, for away supporters. So that'll be an interesting game. We know that that is going to be at the San Siro. But let's talk about, of course, the new appointment to the club's backroom staff. And that is, of course, the news that came out yesterday of Dan Ginger. Of course, he is a local lad, born in Alnwick. And, of course, he is coming from a pretty high place. He has, of course, worked in the tennis industry, in very highly regarded in the tennis world as well, coming from, of course, prestigious ATP and WTA tours, where he was responsible for brand development and fan growth. He will work closely with, of course, the Chief Commercial Officer, Peter Silverstone, and the wider commercial team to accelerate brand marketing and digital strategies, helping to engage and grow Newcastle United's global fan base as the club works towards its ambitious targets. Dan will oversee the development and implementation and growth of all website, app, social media and third-party platforms, as well as working collaboratively across departments to direct marketing campaigns and innovations. He's also said on his appointment to Newcastle United, of course, that he is delighted to join Newcastle United as the club continues its exciting journey towards being a leading Premier League and European club, both on and off the pitch. Of course, he also talked about being born and raised in the Northeast and knowing how much Newcastle United means to the fans and the local community. And he looks forward to communicating that globally via our brand, marketing and digital activity. Peter Silverstone, of course, said on the appointment of Dan Ginger to Newcastle United, we are very pleased Dan has joined us as we continue our exciting journey on and off the pitch. Our brand, marketing and digital media functions are an essential part of defining the club's brand and engagement strategy, whilst growing our local and global fan base. Dan and his team will play a key role in driving these vital efforts forward. So it's all about building up the brand image, all about building up commercial revenue into the club. As we all know, under the previous ownership, of course, the commercial revenue was on an absolute shoestring budget. But since Peter Silverstone has come in and the rest of the commercial team have come in, of course, we have started to see things moving in the right direction with we're going out and getting the likes of Seller for the front shirt sponsor. We've seen the likes of, Monster Energy drink coming in as a sponsorship as well. We've seen a few different gambling companies coming in as sponsors as well in the background, of course, of the club. And of course, we have seen the most important one of all, which will be the kit supplier, of course, for the seasons ahead, which will be Adidas. We all knew it was going to be, of course, and Peter Silverstone played a vital role in getting that deal to Newcastle United. Of course, he did play a vital role when he was at Arsenal in getting them the Adidas deal, and I do believe he has played a very vital role in it this time around again to get Adidas to Newcastle. It's going to be, of course, a fantastic boost in revenue as well for the kits, as at the moment we only get about 5 million from Castor. Castor take all of the revenue that they make off of the shirts as well. The club does not get a single penny of that, but the new deal, which will start in 24-25 season. So next season, of course, will be under Adidas. Adidas will design the kits for that season onwards. And of course, we are getting told from many different media outlets, that it's going to be about 40 million a season. From what has been said, them are the rumours going around. So that seems like a very, very good deal when you look at how much Castro are giving away at the minute. That's a 35 million increase on what Castro are giving. Plus, Adidas will not be taking the full revenue that they make off of the shirts being sold. Of course, some of that money will go to Newcastle United as well, which is brilliant. And Newcastle will also be opening back up the retail side of things in-house. It will not be done the way it is right now with Castro owning all of the club shops. It will be Newcastle United running the club shops. I've talked about in the previous video, of course, where I talked about the Adidas deal, but this is massive news, and this is all possible thanks to the likes of Peter Silverstone, of course, and I'm sure Dan Ginger will do a massive part in building up the commercial side of things as well for moving forward, as he has now just been appointed to, of course, the commercial team to help build that commercial brand for Newcastle moving forward. But looking at it, it's going to be an interesting one, of course. We're at the moment in the international break, so we'll have to wait and see, on what happens going forward, because there's not too much information coming around about other commercial deals just yet. But moving away from that side of things, of course, we'll talk about the Champions League squad now. Newcastle released also yesterday, confirming the Champions League Group A list squad for, of course, the Champions League games. Newcastle submitted a list A squad to compete in the Champions League, and on that list, of course, we've seen the likes of Harvey Barnes, Tino Livramento, Sandro Tonali, of course, all the usual suspects, Bruno, Joe Linton, all on the list. And on a B list, we've seen Newcastle United youngsters Elliot Anderson, Lewis Miley being included on that list as well, along with other club trained players born on or after the 1st of January 2002, making them eligible for selection. But you will see, of course, the full list up on screen. It's got Al Mirren on there, Harvey Barnes, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, Martin Dubravka, Paul Dummett, Anthony Gordon, Bruno, Lewis Hall, Isak, Joe Linton, Karius, Lascelles, Livramento, Longstaff, Murphy, Pope, Shaw, Target, Tonali, Trippier, Willock, Wilson, just all the usual first teamers are on the A list. And on the B list, of course, we see Elliot Anderson and Lewis Miley, with them being the younger players in the side, of course. But massive news, of course, on that squad release, and I just can't wait for the football to get back again. Of course, at the moment, we've got the internationals. We don't return back to the normal football until the 16th of September, when we take on Brentford, of course. That'll be an interesting game. That'll hopefully be a much more different Newcastle side, of course, because let's face it, these first 4 games of the season haven't been the best. We won, of course, against Aston Villa on the opening day of the season, quite convincingly. Then we went into that game against Man City, only narrowly losing out on that game, to be honest, against Man City. Then the game against Liverpool, we should have definitely won. We were leading the game for quite a bit, but then unfortunately Liverpool ended up coming back into the game to win it. And then that game against Brighton, you know my thoughts on that one, and my thoughts on the other ones as well. We just need to be seeing a little bit more of Newcastle from last season and a little less of this Newcastle that we've seen so far this season, because we've got to see a little bit of what Newcastle was like from last season in that game against Aston Villa, and we came away convincingly winning it. But then the Man City game, the Liverpool game, and the Brighton game, we've seen a different side of Newcastle, and to say that, you know, I'm not quite happy about. It's not the same team that we were seeing last season. You know, we're not pressing hard enough. We're not getting in people's faces enough, and we need to be doing that, because that's what we were doing last season, and that was, you know, how we were going out there and we were surprising the teams, and we need to be doing that again. Of course, come the Brentford game, we need to be right in their face. We need to be doing what we were doing last season, because that is our identity. As you know, we have been under Eddie Howe. We've been a high intensity team, and we're not seeing much of that. But the Villa game, of course. But let us know your thoughts anyway down in the comments below. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and on, of course, the transfer window as well. Because I didn't put a video up talking about my thoughts on the transfer window, but I think, you know, it has been a pretty decent window. We've got to see some pretty good signs coming in. Livramento, Lewis Hall, of course. We've got to see Sandro Tonali coming in as well. So a fantastic window. Harvey Barnes coming in as well. So a really good window by Newcastle, and, you know, we can't argue with it. We got in some pretty good youngsters as well. Behind the scenes coming in from AC Milan, in Inter Milan as well. We've got to see Yannick Minter coming in as well, who has been doing some fantastic stuff over in the Rivedas for Feyenoord on loan there, of course. So, you know, there's definitely a great built squad being done. But let us know your thoughts anyway down in the comments below. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags, and I'll see you all in the next one. And also a shout out to Richard on the membership as well. How are the lads?